So what I didn't know about Ghostwire Tokyo is that it had a bit of a mixed reception upon launch. I didn't know much about the game anyway, I just thought it looked quite unique, so I went and played it in 2026 to get my own opinion. I also found out that the game has received a few updates since then, like the Spider's Thread, which added this new roguelike mode, I think, as well as extra story content and a few improvements. And straight away, the biggest thing in this game and what it has going for it is the setting. Instead of a typical open world setting, you explore this like supernatural version of Tokyo where basically the whole population has just disappeared mysteriously. So it's super quiet and abandoned, but still has that futuristic feeling as it happened so soon. It's not like it's been decades. There's also these weird spirits that are everywhere, which I'll get into. So it has such a distinct, eerie atmosphere, and as I said, with it still being modern, it's like it's completely dead, but also alive at the same time. Think of it like Tokyo with this horror twist to it, and that's why I wanted to play through it. I actually didn't know it was this dark. The amount of detail they put into this setting is great, the usual neon signs like reflecting off puddles or the side of cars, narrow alleyways and corner shops. There's also multiple shrines dotted around and hidden between or on top of houses, you know, huge apartment blocks and everything. It just feels odd having it so empty, which you aren't used to with a Tokyo setting. And going back to like the puddles, that brings me on to the weather in itself, as that makes that dark atmosphere. It seems to always be constantly raining, either that or it has lots of fog and always a dark sky. And again, that makes the dark theme without it having to be so scary so obviously. The main protagonist being Akito, who is one of the very few to survive this weird event, and this is all because he becomes possessed by a spirit called KK. But it's more his body that's possessed rather than himself, and it's actually his spirit and KK that share the same body, which also talks to him, and together they try to uncover what's happened and put a stop to this person or the thing that caused it. And that's the main plot, but of course it's not just about stopping it. There's a big and deeper focus on the relationship between Akito and his spirit, as they slowly learn to work together, even though this possessed spirit may have been seen as a bad thing, and they're also complete strangers. So this odd relationship makes the narrative, and personally, as the actual plot goes, it's nothing insane, but it's also engaging enough to keep you playing, I'd say. And like I mentioned, it's more the feeling and the mood of it all which drives it, rather than these insane moments and plot twists, you know. You're also always uncovering new information about what happened, and it's detailed in that sense, which you'd have to play through to really get it. So I'd say the gameplay has way more of a focus, and probably just as important as the setting. It's also what attracts most players, probably. So a similar pattern where they aren't going with the typical choice. Combat wise, that would be guns, but you actually use an array of elemental abilities by doing different hand gestures, which are super cool. Like wind attacks would act as your standard weapon, and then there's water attacks that work better in close range fights, and fire abilities that do much more damage. And then with all of that, you're constantly pulling cores from enemies or blocking attacks and using smaller items. But mainly it's about mixing them all together and experimenting with these supernatural things. So definitely different and a change in pace depending on what you're doing. And maybe this is where people could be split about it, as it's not your usual pacing or theme. I personally found it great and it tries something unique. I think it's more the visuals in the combat which do the heavy lifting. I mentioned the hand gestures, which are a big part of it, and all these different animations with your hands in first person look crazy. I mean, they're used to cast the attacks, and that slower but more stylish movement, I suppose, is what makes it. But I do get how maybe that style of combat can become a bit repetitive after a while. You may think of it as you play, you unlock stronger abilities and more upgrades as you progress, which is true and another key feature, but the actual core attacks, they do stay the same throughout it. So if you're expecting tons of completely new and fresh mechanics every few hours, then it could end up feeling like it doesn't evolve that much, or not enough at least. And then when you have unlocked most of it, you've sort of seen it all already. But the whole gameplay loop is you cleansing these shrines and then rescuing different spirits, exploring the setting as a whole, as well as collectibles and other secrets and side quests, some having more supernatural creatures to them. But I suppose parkour is a big part of the gameplay, getting to jump across different rooftops and grapple up buildings. But it's not actually a grapple, you get to be lifted up by these birds called tengus. and then when you jump off you can glide around the map, so that helps with traversing these built up areas. And the exploring aspect just means that you aren't going objective to objective. You can get distracted by things that take your interest, which is a great part of an open world game, even though it feels a bit more linear. And going back to the side quest, which basically dive deeper into weird ghost stories and legends. So it's more if you wanted to learn more about it rather than the usual repetitive side quest of grabbing an item and delivering it or something, you know. So again, some creepy ones, some are kind of sad, and just leaning into that eerie tone again. Now, the progression helps with gameplay, as I did bring it up earlier, so with XP you can unlock new abilities which can change or improve your elements you can use to attack, or it could be an increase in health and spirit capacity, etc, just becoming stronger as you play like most games. But it's good that it doesn't feel overly complicated. I think that would be the main difference, as some could easily be like that. It's quite straightforward but still makes a difference and does the job, even if some people still think it can start to feel a bit samey after a while. And then, as I said, there's the Spider's Thread, which was a massive update that they added later on, and it added a new roguelite mode, meaning you can get given these various challenges to make your way through and then gain permanent unlocks and rewards. And I think this was because of the end game, there wasn't much to do afterwards, and this just gave people extra content when they complete the story, and if you wanted more combat stuff, but again also extra story as well alongside it. So this game definitely has a lot to offer. It's a unique one, it's way darker and weirder than I expected. I thought it would be some modern fast-paced shooter, like, I don't know, a modernized Dishonored or something, but it's a slower, linear and just different, with more supernatural elements to it, whether that be the combat or the story theme. But today you get the complete version of the game, not like it was ever broken or anything, but it's been a good few years since then, and there's been several updates to slightly improve it. So I just say go in with an open mind. I can definitely see how people could be disappointed if they were expecting something similar, but not quite what they wanted. And similar to my expectations of a fast-paced action game or something, others could be the same, or maybe a big open world RPG, but hopefully now you know it's not like that, and what it does focus on, this video should be helpful in deciding whether it's your thing, and if you like that stuff, then by all means go get the game, as I'm sure many will enjoy this unique style it has. So yeah, I just think the main issues at launch were just different expectations people had, and I'm still not quite sure how you would capitalize this game, as it's not one single theme. But again, there still is flaws regardless of if you just enjoy the theme of it, such as enemy types and their overall variety. It would have been nice to see a few more. You definitely notice the same ones quite often, and the same critique could be said for some of the missions being a bit repetitive, but I think that's mainly if you're trying to fully complete the game and discover the whole map. I'm always one to focus on mainly the main story anyway, but if you're one to collect a lot and 100% it, I'd say definitely do it naturally and take your time with it and just do what you feel like. And that is my review of Ghostwire Tokyo in 2026. If you did enjoy this video, let me know by tapping that like button down below, and if you enjoy single player and multiplayer games as well, then that's what this channel is all about. I have multiple playlists on a selection of games, so you can subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you want to support me any further, you can become a member by clicking the join button below to gain access to various perks and entering at either level 1 or 2. For anyone that drinks G Fuel, you can use my code CALZY at checkout to get a discount on your order. Thank you all for the support and watching until the very end, and that was Ghostwire Tokyo in 2026, and bye bye.